Glenn, with your permission, I'm going to give you the floor and introduce your speakers and give us an overview of what's happening across the globe.
Thanks very much, Yuri. Glad to be here. Glen Prichard is my name, from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. We've got a variety of interesting speakers here today, panellists, who come from a broad range of regions across the world and different sectors for that matter. So without anything further to do, I'm just going to dive in and ask them a few questions about what they're seeing and what needs to change. We've heard a lot this morning in a very compact session about some of the things that need to change, but we haven't really dived into what's new, what is changing in the world. So without anything further to do, I'd ask, when you answer the question, if you can just quickly introduce yourself. But Aileen, what are you seeing that's happening in your particular region in relation to scams?
Hi everyone. My name is Aileen. I'm from the Singapore Police Force. I'm in charge of the Anti-Scam Command. Well, this is the second year I'm participating in this summit, so thank you very much, GASA, for the invitation. Now, what we are seeing in Asia is the increasing use of technology to facilitate scams. I'll just share an example. I will not touch so much on AI and deepfake because it was very well covered by Golegit. So what happened last year was between January to August, Singapore see an influx and attack of malware-enabled scams. Now, this is a variant of e-commerce scam, or what we call it the online purchase scam. So usually you go online to buy a certain product, right? Now, what the scammer asks you to do is to download a payment app. Now, can I just do a test here? How many of you are using iPhones? iPhones. Wow, that's very good. So if you are using Android phones, this scam's typology only attacks Android phone user. Now, this payment app is actually an APK file. They will say that, okay, you want to buy the product, in order to facilitate payment, you are supposed to download this payment file. Once you download, the scammers can access and know and see your phone, whatever that you type on your phone. Now, what happened was in the middle of the night, when all of us are sleeping, or the victims are sleeping, the scammers will access the phone and siphon out all the monies from the victim's bank account. And thereafter, you know, when the bank sent notification because there was a transaction, the scammers can even access your phone and delete all these messages. So this is very scary. Between January to August, more than 1,400 people fall prey, and we lost more than 20 million just within this 8 months. So we have worked very, very closely with the banks. In Singapore, we have a very strong collaborative approach. The banks got together, found a solution, and what they did was they implemented a fraud surveillance app, where once when you enter your iBanking and it detects that there is such a site-loaded app, automatically your screen becomes blank. So what I want to share, the reason I want to share here is partly because the scam started in Thailand first, then it came to Singapore. Now we understand that it has gone to Hong Kong and Malaysia. So it may go to your country. So just take note. The mother, a single mom who wanted to buy sweet corn at $1.50, one sweet corn for $1.50, lost $64,000. Yep.
Thanks, Aileen. Let's stay in the same region. We'll go to Toby, who's based in Australia. What specifically are you seeing in the region that's new and emerging in relation to scams?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm Toby Evans. I'm the head of economic crime at Australian Payments Network. We're the industry body and self-regulatory body for payments. I have the pleasure of sitting on the fusion cells with our National Anti-Scam Centre and also facilitating our economic crime forum, that is a partnership with various national law enforcement bodies. Look, for Australia, with the rise of the digital economy, we've seen a significant erosion of trust. That's whether it be online advertising on digital platforms, use of and trust of telecommunication services. We all would have noticed people answer their phone less now, responding to emails is less, but also importantly with payments and banking and with the transferring of funds and the crypto industry. So there's been a conservative sort of Team Australia collaborative effort across the ecosystem. For us, the lion's share remains investment scams. We have seen some reductions in overall scams in Australia, which is pleasing, which I'll talk about later today. But also what we've seen is this nexus between fraud, scams, cybercrime, and importantly, money laundering. An example of that is the rise with online shopping scams. Whilst it might be card fraud, that details used from that phishing, in a way, can be used to facilitate other more sophisticated and high-level scams, whether it be romance scams or other investment scams. Thank you.
Thanks, Toby. Let's maybe jump to Brazil, to Rafael, and what's new in your part of the world?
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Rafael Fernandes. I'm the Chief Planning Officer of the Public Prosecution Office of the State of Minas Gerais in Brazil. So for Brazil, I could highlight a new trend is a greater involvement of large criminal organizations in fraud, such as Primeiro Comando da Capital and Comando Vermelho. Those criminal groups, they are specialized in drug trafficking, bank robberies, but now they are moving to fraud, to scams. It's a very lucrative industry, and they generate lots of kinds of scams. They also export scams to other Latin American countries, and we can see some kinds of scams that are prevalent in the recent years. Bank call scams and job and task scams. Bank call scams, we receive bank call scams almost every week. Okay, many people in a Brazilian conference like this, if I ask everyone to confirm if they received phone calls, maybe 80% of people would raise their hands by saying that. And for job and task scams, we also have received many kinds of scams with messages coming from abroad, from countries like Nigeria, Indonesia, South Africa, and India. So I could highlight these as the trends in Brazil.
Thanks, Rafael. And if we go a little bit further south, we get to our colleague from Nigeria. What's happening in Nigeria or in the African region that's different in the past year or so?
Yeah,
Remi? Thanks, Remi.
Thank you very much. My name is Remi Afon. I'm the founder and executive director of Golegit Africa. The purpose of Golegit Africa is to transform cyber criminals into a legitimate way. We're trying to ensure that they follow the path and give them that platform, second chance, basically. In terms of Africa, there are a lot of prevalent scams. Romance scam has always been number one, where people use social media platform to trick people into having a kind of affair with them, relationship, and they mostly use Facebook, Instagram, so on and so forth, and they target Western countries. We have also started seeing recruitment scam because of people working remotely now, and from Western world, organizations are recruiting people from outside Europe, outside America. So people create fake recruitment and get them to apply, and later on they said you have to pay a certain amount of money so that we'll be able to process your recruitment. And also we've seen cryptocurrencies scam, Ponzi scheme scam, getting people to invest in cryptocurrency, getting them to invest in Ponzi scheme, and eventually they just follow that route. Based on the first presentation that we had this morning, that's the kind of pattern that they do follow.
Thanks so much, Remi. And Ard from the Dutch police, what's new and happening in your part of the world?
Yeah, well, first of all, good morning, everybody. My name is Lensen. I'm from the Dutch police force. Well, a lot of things they have to spoke, we see the same. But in Holland is still the number one is the bank help fraud. So somebody calling you and say, well, we see there's a problem with your account. And it can be making place on two ways. One way is they only talking and they say, we come to your house and we get up the bank card. Or they ask you to get behind your computer and installates any desk or few play or something like that, and they get into your computer. But what we also see is that the criminals are very innovative. They are acting quickly on the chances, because what we also see is when they going on the houses of the victims, they also say, well, yeah, we also know there are a lot of burglaries in this area, so we can also be taking your luxury stuff, jewelry or something, and we take it with us, so it's safely by us. So you can see when it doesn't luck, they don't have luck with to grab up the bank account, they normally change to another way to grab the money. And one of the things that also is growing up now is the dating scam with of the investors to go investigate money.
No, it's quite interesting. You know, digitalisation has really globalised the world, but we still have these different approaches from scams across the globe and different priorities on different attacks. We, you know, are particularly interested in the industrialisation and the use of organised crime groups moving into this field. We heard a lot about that during the conference last year from Southeast Asia, where organised crime had industrialised scams and really brought this to life. So I think it's an emerging issue that the Latin American organised crime groups have moved into that area now. So you all work in organisations that are involved in combating scams and preventing scams. So I'd be interested to hear from a few of you in relation to what have been the successful initiatives that have worked well for you that you'd want to speak about. Rafael, I'll start with you from Brazil.
In the last year, we have had many interesting developments. We launched Global Anti-Scam Alliance Brazil chapter this year, and we held two events with different stakeholders from all over the country. Brazil is a continent; it's bigger than Europe, and 27 states, and we managed to put together prosecutors, the justice system, state and federal level together, banks, internet, telecom government agency. We have put all together to discuss how we can enhance the anti-scam system in Brazil. We still need to create a national anti-scam strategy, but we have deserved attention from the National Council of the Public Ministry. I've been invited to attend a meeting in Brasilia in which they focus. Every month they highlight a different issue on the public security agenda. And Latin America has still lots of problems with many other kinds of crimes in a larger scale than Europe, for example. So the anti-scam agenda was not in a high position, but now we managed to put this, to scale up this, and it has gained attention from other public prosecution offices from other states. They have asked for me to share our anti-scam initiatives that we showed in Lisbon last year, and also public ministries, they have set up robust units to combat cybercrime in many states in Brazil, especially in my state. They created a huge unit to combat cybercrime.
Thanks, Rafael. We hear a lot about Singapore being a global leader in this space, so we're very much interested to hear from you, Aileen, in terms of what Singapore's been doing.
All right. In Singapore, in 2019, June, we set up the Anti-Scam Center. And our key objective is actually to disrupt scammers' operation and mitigate victims' losses. Now, over a period of 5 years, we have recovered more than 450 million for our scam victims. That's about 20% of the scam losses. And just last year, we have a little success. That is, we managed to reduce the amount scammed by 1.3%, that is 8.9 million. This is a very big success for us ever since the setup of our anti-scam center. But as you can see from Google, looks like after Taylor Swift came to Singapore, everything just go haywire. Right, we will reset, all right, we will reset. Now, just share what the anti-scam center in Singapore does. Generally, we disrupt scammers' operation by freezing bank accounts and recover victims' losses. We terminate phone lines that are related to scams, and we remove online monikers or websites that are related to scams. So for our anti-scam center, we always go on a very strong collaborative approach. Since our setup, we have more than 100 stakeholders, and we think that every country should have an anti-scam center so that we can enhance our collaboration. Now, some people ask me, Aileen, how do you manage to convince so many stakeholders, the banks, the telcos, the online marketplaces, the e-commerce, the government, the agencies, to collaborate with you all and to form an anti-scam alliance? I always say, we never force anyone, all right? We never force. We only encourage forcefully, all right? So this is about a group of very passionate people coming together to fight scams. Right.
Lovely, Aileen. Love your passion. We need to bring that passion to the game all the time. I'm going to go to Remi from the Nigerian perspective. What initiatives are working well for you guys?
Yeah, I think the major one is strong collaborations with outside of the country in terms of law enforcement agencies. There have been a lot of collaborations because scam is generally borderless, and it's becoming easier now to trace the criminals and be able to locate where they are in terms of collaborating with other law enforcement agencies. Another area is initiative by the fintech companies. They're coming up with a lot of measures to be able to detect fraud and making it more difficult for criminals to cash out, because eventually, having moved the money around, they really need to cash out from their banks. So the fintechs are coming up with a lot of initiatives. And I can say, in fact, Africa, especially Nigeria, was one of the first countries to, when you want to transfer money from one account to another, it's going to quickly display the name and the account number. It was later on that was implemented in UK, so that shows that we're kind of moving ahead and making sure that, we come up with measures to check, fraud. Then regulatory measures as well. A lot of countries are coming up with a lot of strong regulation, like Kenya and most recently Rwanda. Coming up with a lot of regulations to check, fraud.
Thanks, Remi. Let's go to our Dutch police colleague, Ard, for what's the new initiative that's working well for you guys?
Yeah, now first of all, I'm 100% agree with Aileen, because what she told and also foremost spoke this morning, I only believe that we can do against fraud that cooperate together with all kind of partners. And what we also see in Holland, we had last year, we had a really success just become to cooperate with bank, telco or something to increase the scam of bank help fraud. We have putting down the victims because we had barriers. We have find barriers to have on a time locker on the account. So that's really help to have raise down the victims. But also as a success is because inside the police, we had Operation Centurion, is that we also inside the force getting more the focus together, we work together, we sharing together knowledge, experience, and that also be a part of the success that we have in Holland. So, and one of the things that I always be very happy is that we see also be success the last years with a lot of arrested people, and you can see also in the slides, when the suspects they have no chance to get up, then they think, well, nobody take us. But I sure will tell that the Dutch police the last year has several arrested guys behind scams. And one of the last things I want to tell about that is what really is concern is that we see that the guys who do that kind of scams is also be the guys who is involved with drugs-related violence. And when we get it into the houses, we see weapons. So that's one of the things we have to think about it, that the people that play scams are not really what we call, I don't know the word, but suckers. They are really serious criminals.
No, thanks for that. It really feeds into what Rafael was talking about before, that organised crime have really moved into this space now. It's not some kid sitting in his mum's garage anymore. It's the real deal. It's proper organised crime that have industrialised this type of work. I just want to move on to ask. We've had this big question here about what we need to do different. We've all heard we've got to work together better and all that sort of stuff. But what strategies are needed to get in front of the scammers? What is needed, and what do you think we could do differently going forward? Toby?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's always going to be one, as we heard earlier today, where we have to pivot and share trends globally so we can respond to those emerging threats. Look, for us, as you've heard here, a key part was that formation of the National Anti-Scam Centre, so all the players in the life cycle are collaborating in what they're seeing. But when people say they take fraud and scams very seriously, we expect real action, and every part on that scam life cycle has to do real action. So for that, for the banks, it was with real-time payments, like bank-imposed appropriate risk-based friction to slow down those payments, and also with the digital economy, and not just for banks, but all businesses on the digital economy, having that stronger KYC with the digital onboarding as well, so we know who's actually producing those documents, and especially in the wake of data theft. But the disruption on the front end, we've had some success in investment website takedown service that was government-led, and that's now being expanded to other shopping scams and phishing. And as I spoke about, that nexus between all forms of economic crime is really important. The telecommunications industry, like key partner with establishing trust there. We have the sender ID registry to prevent the alpha tagging and the organisation impersonation, to help with bank impersonation scams, the postal scams and so forth, and the blocking that's happening in that industry as well. Data sharing is important. Public to private and private to public, and also internationally. There's some great initiatives just rolled out in Australia with our Australian Financial Crimes Exchange, which is very similar to the global approach happening, and I'm looking forward to extending those discussions to see how we can collaborate there. And that's if someone reports a scam, that those key enablers and those key facilitators of the scam are blocked and removed as quickly as possible, whether it be the telephone numbers, the URLs, the ISP services and so forth. Look, for Australia, what's needed from us is our approach is, because everyone has to do their part, the government's taken a very strong lead on it. For industries that may be a bit slower to cooperate, or to encourage those that are but need to do more, and that's going to be put into legislation this year in our anti-scam codes. But on the horizon, what more needs to be done? Once a scam has occurred, the money, as we've heard today, is laundered. It's perpetrated by transnational organised crime, hiding behind jurisdiction and geopolitical issues, but we need to work together in that funds tracing and repatriation, but also to follow the money and work with law enforcement to that disruption. A lot needs to be done to support law enforcement with their resourcing challenges. They do have to respond to volume and violent crime, but we have as industry a lot of, data, but also a lot of expertise where we can support law enforcement in those intelligence leads. Thanks.
No, thanks, Toby. You raised some really good points about this holistic approach in relation to, and we can't just look at a narrow aspect of this type of crime, and yet the issue about the financial crime aspect is really important. I'm going to go to Remi in terms of what strategies do you think we need to be adopting to get ahead of the scammers and protect citizens?
Yeah, so apart from the international cooperation that I just mentioned, one other area I believe we can adopt is public awareness and education. We have to look at it from the victim's point of view as well, getting people having a kind of a massive awareness about fraud, any latest trend in terms of fraud, get the people aware of it and get them to report as quickly as possible. And that's one area that has been quite successful in Nigeria as well. You know, whenever there is a particular fraud that people are going into, we try to make people aware of it and get them to report as quickly as possible. And there's been a lot of cooperation with tech companies as well, like Facebook. You know, when people report a particular page, they just bring it down as quickly as possible. So with that kind of awareness, I think it might go a long way to reduce fraud.
Yeah, thanks, Remi. What about from the Dutch point of view, Arden?
Yeah, well, the most of the things they told before, it's become working together, cooperate, looking for each other. So that is one of the most important things, I think. And when I'm sitting here on the table, because we spoke about dating fraud, but I think that we have making a more date together. So dates to create, we have to thinking about chances, and that's what I believe.
And I'm just coming back and picking up on Remi before. What do we think about AI protecting us? Like, is that something that we heard from the previous presenter that maybe we need AI tools to protect ourselves from our own vulnerabilities? I think I'm part Canadian after watching the show before, because I got scammed by Sam last year. I got my photograph taken out the front, so I'm the worst. I don't know if and I don't know if AI is going to protect me from that, but so is that something viable? Is that a game changer, using AI in this way? Does anyone want to pick up on that?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's going to be a game changer as well, because we can implement AI as well to kind of detect fraud, because that's what cyber criminals are using as well in their, so we can beat them to their game and come up with technology to stop them and detect as quickly as possible. So I think it's quite possible.
So we've heard a lot about collaboration. We need to work together stronger. Aileen, if I come back to you in terms of how do you propose to strengthen global partnerships to foster more coordinated and effective approach to preventing and responding to scams?
Well, in Singapore, we always say that fighting scams is a community effort. But for the purpose of today, I would say that fighting scams is a global effort, right? So, in Singapore, we always share that police can arrest this number of criminals or scammers. Well, if police really do alone, then it's really not enough. We need the banks to come together to freeze bank accounts, telcos to come together to terminate phone lines, and online marketplaces to come together to remove online monikers at the fastest rate. Now, we urged that every country set up an anti-scam center. So if I have only one mission today, and that is to urge every single country to set up an anti-scam center. I always say that if I'm not a police officer, I'll probably be a sales and marketing executive. So if you are very interested to find out more, please attend the 7 steps to kill chain on scams. That is later on at workshop number 5, a promotion, advertisement. I hope the moderator treats me well later. Now, we have seen several countries setting up anti-scam center. In 2022, Malaysia has set up the National Scam Response Center. In 2023, we saw that Thailand has set up an anti-online scam center. Korea has set up a National Counter Scam Center. So these are countries that are moving forward also really to set up anti-scam center. And I want to really praise the Koreans for doing it really at a very, very fast rate. We came to know the Koreans, a group of them, in Saudi Arabia February last year. That's where we came to know Josh also and the Team Gaza team. By May, they actually came to Singapore to do a Saudi visit. And by October, they have already set up an anti-scam center. Now, in Singapore, what's unique is that our anti-scam center has the co-location of bank staff. So we don't only ask them to help us trace the funds, but we also get them to be co-located at our anti-scam center. How we do it is to encourage them forcefully. Right, so we have got 6 banks that are co-located with us. actually they constitute more than 90% of the production order that we sent. And I also want to share that we didn't set up the anti-scam center from scratch and on our own. We also learned from others. We learned it from the Hong Kong police force. They have an anti-deception coordination center. So Hong Kong friends who are watching this, hi from Brazil. They set up an anti-scam center for us. And I remember that when their commissioner came to visit us last February, I shared with him very candidly that we learned from you, Hong Kong police force. And the commissioner was so impressed by the co-location of bank staff at our anti-scam center. So when he went back, he also started with this to convince all the banks to set up a co-location of bank staff. And by end of last year, we understand that Hong Kong police force also have co-location of bank staff. This really explains why we're able to recover more money for our scam victims. And we always believe that there's a limit to the number of scammers that we can arrest, right? We are unable to tackle them. We don't know where are they. But at the mere minimum, we should prevent them from enjoying the criminal proceeds, right? So, anti-scam center for all countries.
Yeah, well done, Aileen. No, but if we go back to our theme of networking, it takes a network to defeat a network, how are we going to have all the anti-scam centres coordinating with each other? Have you thought ahead to that scenario?
Well, I will give a very real-life example that just happens between me and Toby just a few days ago before we came here. Now, we have a business email compromise scam whereby this victim wanted to buy a property in Australia, and this victim actually transferred money into a bank account that was provided by the scammer. Now, what actually happened was that because we came to know Toby and National Anti-Scam Centers Haiti, who came and gave a talk last year, so we were able to connect very, very quickly with each other. That was the first time that we actually connected with each other. So I think it is important that at the very onset, every country has a point of contact so that we know who we can contact. But unfortunately, this victim actually lodged a report really very late. It was 1 week later, so all the money was gone. But I want to give an example of our collaboration with the Hong Kong police force. So just about 2 months ago, there was a technical support scam victim who actually transferred 420,000 to Hong Kong bank account. And minutes within that report, we were able to contact Hong Kong police force, and Hong Kong police force recovered 370,000 for us. So that's about 88% of the amount scammed. So these are very good examples of how we can come together to fight scams. I'll give more examples later on at workshop number 5.
Yeah, great cross-promotion. I love it. Remi, if I can... just in terms of wrapping up, what do you see is important in terms of strengthening collaboration and using this networked approach to?
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe establishing a kind of joint task force is quite important. Law enforcement agencies cannot do this alone. So there is a need, because to bring down the criminal gangs requires collaboration from all areas. So I believe if there's a kind of joint task force involving some volunteers as well from different countries, non-for-profit organizations, giving input as well to law enforcement agencies, assisting them, volunteering in different capacities, I think with that collaboration, we'll be able to go a long way to bring down criminal gangs.
Thanks, Remi. Rafael, some closing remarks in terms of what you see is important in terms of strengthening collaboration, networked approach.
I think we need to work closer as we did this year with a meeting in Vienna at the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. Experts from all over the world, like here, we're working together on an issue paper on organized fraud. And we need to share knowledge, share experience, because the scam industry is pretty much similar all over the world. So if we share our knowledge, if we share our strategies, we'll be able to tackle crime. And I also see we need to improve data collection and analyze capabilities in transnational base because these kinds of crimes, they occur involving different jurisdictions. So I think this is key. And also public-private partnerships like Ministério Público de Minas Gerais signed with Global Anti-Scam Alliance, which enabled us to spread the anti-scam message in Brazil, because Brazil had other priorities when it comes to crime. And since we managed to have a partnership with Global Anti-Scam Alliance, we managed to scale up this on our national agenda. So I think public-private partnerships are very important, not only for the international level, but also in the internal level. We have a partner of Global Anti-Scam Alliance in Brazil now, a platform called Silverguard. It's a fintech, a startup fintech. They helped more than 30,000 people to recover the money once they transferred their money to fraudsters using PIX. PIX is a mechanism used in Brazil. It's electronic money. We barely use money, cash, nowadays in Brazil. So this makes things much easier for criminals acting not only in Brazil, but also acting from abroad through international criminal networks. So we need to work together with more public-private partnerships and sharing knowledge.
Thanks, Rafael.
You're welcome.
Just some last closing remarks from Toby, just in relation to coordination and collaboration. What needs to change?
Well, I think while the scammers may have exploited your trust over the last couple of conferences, it's also our greatest strength. And by being here today and at these networking events, how we're going to get ahead of this game is by trust. So what the scammers are using against us, as I said, it is our greatest strength together as well. Since the pandemic, we've been resolving our own internal response strategies, and it's really pleasing to see that we're now getting to the point where we're looking at our global response strategies, and this is why this summit is so important and why I'm here today. We've started seeing that industry-led approach now going into government. The signing of the 11-country communique in the UK earlier this year was a fantastic initiative. That's the start of forming those global partnerships from a law enforcement level and a government level. But while that's being done, we can form our relationships where we can from private to private. And that's going to be the answer. It's a global response to a global problem.
Thanks very much, Toby. I think that's really important, what we've heard here, that the government can't do it alone. We need to work with industry. We need to have a victim-centred approach. And this is what we're hearing, and it's really great the way this conference is designed. I want to thank my 5 panellists. If you can just give them a round of applause. And back to you, Yuri.
Glenn, thank you very much for chairing the panel. It was a tough crowd. But thank you very much, and also my thanks to all the panelists for sharing your knowledge. So we're slowly moving towards our coffee break, but please join me to the reception desk to give you your well-deserved challenge coin. And Aileen, you were naming that every country should have its own anti-scam command center. It's one of our recommendations in our 10 recommendations to turn the tide on scams as well. But I think I'm already working towards the 11th recommendation, is that there should also be a global coordination center, and I will definitely propose you to lead that one. So we're going towards the break.